This will be a big kill if they can claim, but then the cooldown's going to arrive with the CM ulti. Fnatic lose 2. They're about to lose 3. Everything's split. KYXY trapped up with Sylar. While maybe was on the side. It's over, Wagga. Like, GG. This game was crushing from LGD against Fnatic.
What a performance. LGD not giving a single bit of mercy here to Fnatic. There was not a chance at all. Like, from the get-go, this was completely over.
Man, it's exactly what LGD needed, though. Not drop a single game against Fnatic and try and ensure their #1 position in the group so they get to choose their opponent in the first round. Well, LGD, it was a fun run. We'll go back to the analysts and see what they thought about that game.
All right, game #1 goes down fairly quickly. And, I mean, how did you view that? Fnatic just didn't really stand a chance.
I viewed that as a slaughter.
Yeah.
Next word.
The Night Stalker pick, I was like, it's a Mushi hero, but it didn't really.
No, I don't think that's a Mushi hero.
Oh,
he likes playing it.
He likes playing it, but if I'm on his team, I'm on his teammate. Like when we talk about, I mean, if based on my experience,
I want to
when
hear
I was his teammate, what I would consider a Mushi hero is a co-op or TA, a hero that can actually carry much harder later into the game. Like Night Stalker is much more. You need to make your gang successful. Otherwise, he's not. The hero doesn't carry the team afterwards. You know, I like the plan they had. They want to have a lot of map control with the sense that you can technically get double agonyms on their heroes and, you know, control the map, pressure the opponent. But like what Ben mentioned during the draft as well, he felt that the Storm would have a very good time against those heroes because there was only like one good way of locking him down, which is the silence from the Night Stalker, and that would be dealt by getting a use, which maybe did in the game. So he was basically free to run around unless he gets caught by the Earthshaker, which didn't happen too much in the game.
They do not look happy.
That is a very powerful image right there, I think,
Yeah,
of what's going on for Fnatic right now.
Yeah, they don't look too pleased about that. We do have a couple highlights from that game, so we'll take a look at those as we continue talking. Overall, so, okay, I mean, Winter, you're telling us, in theory, what Fnatic was looking for here, but where do you think they slipped up? I mean, what did they focus too much on, and what did they miss out on here?
I think they needed to gank way hard. Like, they forced themselves into a position where, because their heroes don't really have any late game. So, if you look at what LGD has, there's Storm and Gyro. In that sense alone, you have to gank super crazy in the early game. You have to get kills after kills after kills, and that didn't happen. We even saw during one of the few ganks they made, it was a nice idea they had with the Fissure and the Ice Shards. They snowballed in, like, the Earthshaker casted Enchant Totem first, so he had a double Enchant, and they tried to trap the Gyro in the Shards and the Fissure alone, inside the Fissure and the Shards, but it wasn't a really good idea because you don't want to be next to a Gyro. But yeah, it didn't really work out for them, the lanes.
Yeah, we can take a quick look at just the ending moments too here between these two teams, and LGD looking really strong. Ben, how do you view just LGD? I mean, just because I mean, even we were talking about it, right? LGD doesn't seem like they should have been too worried about the draft. Do you think going forward they can just play out the game two just as comfortably as they want?
Especially with Fnatic being demoralized like this, I think it's going to be even easier for them in the second game, sadly. I think in that game, yeah, Fnatic, they had an okay idea, but it just, like, their win condition is, what, maybe a farmed Razor? Like, having a lot of map control for what? Like, you might be able to, like, limit the ways that they can initiate on you in a fight, but they still have, like, a Storm Spirit. They still have a Gyrocopter. Like, you're going to have to deal with them at some point, and their lanes are just not strong enough to keep them from being underfarmed, and maybe in particular. And we saw how dominant maybe can be when given, like, a slightly upper-handed matchup in the left track versus Quap. I think Storm Spirit versus Night Stalker is just a terrible matchup for the Night Stalker, and maybe you can control him later, but it's simply too risky.
Yeah, you know, just even putting 2 and 2 together from what you guys have been saying about Fnatic all throughout the week, right? Fnatic has to win the lanes dominantly. Yeah. They need to be very aggressive early on. And then now you're telling me, all right, well, so they wanted this supreme vision or like map control around the entire game. But as then you point out, for what? Like, what are you going to do with that? Yeah. Right? You have that control.
They sacrificed their lane, the lane dominating factor towards more of map control, and it resulted, which it put them in a situation where they had to do so much work, you know. So I felt it wasn't worth it. I mean, it's a nice idea, but
I think it's also very redundant in having the Keeper Light and the Night Stalker both also need Ags. Like, you have to get that, 8,400 gold first, which is not easy.
But even then, it's not good.
Yeah.
Because they counter each other. Like, you have two heroes, and one wants it to be day, the other wants it to be night, so you're never at full strength. It's a really bad pairing, actually, in the strategy overall. But I think, more than anything, as they've already mentioned, Mushi needs a better matchup mid. And as I talked about in the draft, I think Viper could have worked, because it makes their win condition a lot clearer, right? If they want to fight early, they need heroes that can take towers, which they didn't have either. So even if the fights go well, they need a very convincing win to get progress on the map. And the Night Stalker doesn't get strong unless you take the towers. That's how you contain your opponent and you farm more than them. But the draft was, in my opinion, just pretty weak.
Okay. Well, going forward, hopefully, Fnatic, again, they do want to get at least a couple more points here, and then, of course, they want to beat Complexity in their next match. But if morale is going to get devastated that much, hopefully they get a win for them here so that they can play a little bit better against Complexity. At the same time, LGD continues to look really strong, very dominant. Meanwhile, we do have a quick update, right? MVP Phoenix versus Secret. Sounds like that game didn't go quite as well as most people might have expected. We have a couple of highlights from that one we'll be able to check out here.
On this tier 3, no
Phantom Lancer. And Winter and I were discussing during this game if they actually have any PL counters. And the game was actually pretty close. Secret maintained a 2,000 gold lead over MVP Phoenix. But at the end of the day, Bloodseeker isn't very good at man fighting, and he's especially poor at man fighting versus a Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, at this point, Secret was still ahead, and Phoenix starts to turn things around.
Yeah, they have track. So all these fights that Secret try to go for, where they essentially here it's a 2-for-3 trade, that is, or 2-for-4 rather, as Zai will die here in the end as well. So that's a massive gold swing. If whatever Secret were ahead now, it's probably an even game. And if you look at the overall drafts and how this game will go down, Witch Doctor's getting an Axe Scepter, PL is getting really farmed, and at the end of the day, Secret will just not be able to deal with that PL late game.
Yeah, let's take a look at the end of the game right there, and just, what does this say about both MVP Phoenix and Secret? Where are they right now? MVP Phoenix, I think, has been surprising people more than MVP Hot 6 has even.
They usually don't give Zai Undying. I think that's the stranger part of the draft to me, just because you can deal with it in the same way a lot of other teams deal with it, which is wait until the Tombstone drops off, have a super strong late game that just scales really well, which is Phantom Lancer.
They used Zai earlier this tournament on Undying, where we said he was like a sponge, I think. Wasn't that Secret?
No, that was support, though.
Wasn't it Zai on Undying?
I'm fairly sure it was a support.
Yeah,
I seem to. It might have been another team then. For me, Zai is a very good Undying player, and I think Secret have a lot of strategies where it works. To me, their strategy also makes, the combination of heroes they have for themselves makes sense, but it doesn't seem particularly good against MVP's draft. That's the problem.
Yeah, we don't know where the PL was picked. Maybe he was picked, and PL has not been very popular at this tournament at all, and didn't meet with too much success in the first day, but he's been very popular, I would say, throughout the entirety of 6.84.
Yeah, we've seen I'd say maximum handful of bans, and then
when we talk about Secret as well, we always talk about, they always have a very well-rounded draft. They are good in the early game, good in the mid game, good at team fighting, good at split pushing, and very good at late game. But what they had this game was their late game they cannot match the PL in the late game, that's for sure, because like what Ben said, they have no answers, they have no particularly good way of dealing with the illusion. There was only one way when we were discussing about, how could they have possibly killed the PL, which is to get a Winter's Curse on the real PL with gazillion illusions beside him, and the illusion kills him. And then again, how would you know which is the real?
Veil of Discord.
Yes, that would be a good solution.
But then you have a veil. No, it's you need to go into some gimmicky stuff to be able to isolate the PL. So it's pretty important. Now, let's see. So now LGD are 1 point ahead of Secret.
Yeah.
So if LGD win the next one, are they 100?
No, they're guaranteed.
They're guaranteed.
Yeah, if they win the next one, because they get 3 points and Secret can only get maximum 1 extra point.
Oh, that's right. This is LGD's last game.
Both of their last games. So LGD's probably feeling pretty happy right now. Not sure if they got the update. They most likely asked after the game 1 to their managers and whatnot.
And worst case scenario for them, it's a tie. So right now,
worst case scenario, it's a tie,
and
already. Then they wait until Fnatic and IG finish their next games to find out where it goes. But yeah, LGD's feeling very confident. LGD could very well, it looks like, finish Group A as first. Meanwhile, Stream 2 sounds like Complexity beat C9.
They rolled them, actually. They were really, really strong in this game. They were very far ahead. I think a key part of this, so I've been looking at it a little bit, is that they took away the Wisp from Fnatic. They actually took it for themselves in this game, Complexity.
Away from C9.
Yeah. And they grabbed themselves a Radiant Shadow Fiend. And then in addition to that, I think this is the first Centaur pick of the tournament. And the lineup that that Cloud9 ran in this game was a lot dependent on, as usual Cloud9 lineups are, on chasing down heroes and extending the fight. Like they had, so let's see, they had Lion and Viper and a Spirit Breaker, and you can Stampede and just create a gap and get away from those heroes. You can even Stampede the Hex of Lion, which is, of course, really, really great counter. So, yeah, Complexity, that means they are now... if Fnatic lose their next game against LGD, Complexity are top 4.
Yes. They are guaranteed because...
And if Fnatic wins, then if Complexity loses and they both draw, then Fnatic still need to 2-0 Complexity. And then they're tied, and then Fnatic wins and heads up, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ifs
No, they
right
don't
now.
win.
So they have to win.
They have to play tiebreaker.
No matter what.
Oh, no, yeah.
they're
For
tied
fourth
for
place,
yes.
it's no matter because
No matter
it's
what.
such a big difference, right,
Okay.
between upper bracket and lower bracket.
All right.
But Complexity, I mean, given how they've been playing, looks like they should be pretty comfortable. Also, as we discussed, Fnatic not looking too hopeful for Game 2, just given how they reacted to that game. Granted, as you said, I mean, one word, it looks like a slaughter against Fnatic, and of course LGD coming out very strong. They could very well be the #1 team in Group A.
You know a lot of the Fnatic players personally. Do you think they're emotional players? I don't like that face.
That's a trick question, I feel.
Is it?
I mean, a lot of people know that Mushi can be hard towards his teammates at times, but he can also be very hard to himself. Like, I think we caught a glimpse when they ended the game. Like, he was really, we could see he was really upset because he felt responsible because